Alright, so OnePlus launched their first tablet, the OnePlus Pad. Now, they've got a lot of the stuff right here, but then there are still areas that need some work over time, and we'll talk about all of that. So this is an 11.6-inch display tablet that sits somewhere between very expensive, high-performance tablets and cheap non-performance tablets. It's a very sweet spot, I would say. Now, the first thing that struck me, even before I turned it on, was the design, and specifically the form factor. It's not a usual wide tablet, it's a 7:5 aspect ratio screen, and so it's more symmetrical than wide. And this makes it very easy to be used in both landscape and portrait mode. However, this aspect ratio does mean that you will get thicker black bars when watching videos. And if you zoomed in, it would mean you'd be cutting off a lot of content, which is not ideal. And so if you're buying this to stream content, especially videos, then I would think about this a little. Now this weighs just a little over half a kilo, but it's got really good weight distribution. And if you keep it in your hand for very long, you won't feel as tired of holding it. The buttons are also very easy to reach for a quick change in volume or locking the display, again, because of its design and aspect ratio. On top of all of this, it's incredibly slim, and it has this unibody design which feels great when you're holding it. I've always been a fan of this emerald shade of green, and this looks really nice. Now it's got quad speakers with support for Dolby Atmos that sound really loud and really good. And then it's got these connectors here for the keyboard case, which by the way looks really good. For about 8,000 rupees, it's a nice keyboard case that gives you the ability to type emails and edit Word documents if you don't want to tag along a laptop. And we'll talk more about this and the stylus a little later, so stay tuned. But from a design point of view, I do want to highlight a few things. First, it's got no 3.5mm headphone jack, which is fine. Most premium flagship tablets don't have that either. There are no haptics. I know the iPad doesn't have it either, but some Galaxy tablets from Samsung, they do. Again, not a deal breaker. There is no LTE variant either. Not a deal breaker. Again, you can always, tether that through hotspot on your phone. But then there is no microSD card slot to expand storage. And while, again, many tablets don't have that either, that could have been something that differentiated the OnePlus Pad from other tablets and given it a slight edge. But it's not there. Now, let's talk about that screen. So it's an 11.6-inch LCD display, which is sharp, it's very bright, and it's extremely smooth with a 144Hz refresh rate. Of course, it's got a solid processor, but then that high refresh rate also adds to the super fluid performance of the UI, and you really feel that super quick touch response. Now, despite being an LCD display, it's a really good display. It's 10-bit Dolby Vision ready, and it's actually really stunning. Videos look really good, colors look kick-ass, and everything looks sharp. Even if you're outdoors, no problem. Now I know you might compare it to some other tablets that have 800, 1000 or even 1200 nits and say that 500 is a bit too low, but not at all. I took this outdoors, I was using it all the time. Not an issue at all. Very convenient. Just one thing to note, Netflix does not show that this is an HDR compatible display. And I spoke to OnePlus about it, and they said that Netflix has very stringent conditions to meet to certify as an HDR display, and OnePlus did not go through with that. But you know what? Doesn't matter. It's a really good display in my opinion. My only concern, as I said earlier, is those black bars that appear in watching videos, and if you zoom in, it just kind of cuts the footage, which also isn't really a solution. So yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind if you're really thinking about buying this. But hey, if you couple that video content with the sound that comes out of this, it's really good. I mean, the experience is super. It's Dolby Atmos ready, very loud, very clear, and very full sound. Here's a sample. Okay, now let's talk about performance. So this is actually powered by the flagship chip that came last year, the Dimensity 9000. It's a really good chip, and this is really powerful that way. So whether it's multitasking, managing two apps at the same time, or multiplayer gaming of HD game titles, it's all very smooth. It's got up to 12 gigs of RAM, and it uses UFS 3.1 storage, which is quite fast. So opening apps, fetching data like messages or gallery, all of that is really smooth. I played Call of Duty multiplayer, and I could play at high graphics and high frame rate without any issue. Gameplay is smooth, multiplayer performance was also on point. There's also gaming tools that help you, optimize your gaming experience and ensure uninterrupted, high-performance gaming. Even when I shifted gears to Asphalt 9, again, no problem, it played well, and the 7:5 screen ratio didn't really bother. It was still a full screen experience, and there were no black bars, so games do seem to be optimized quite well. Needless to say, this is more than sufficiently powered to let you work on, Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, and even have your regular video calls without any issue. So no kind of slowdown when switching between all of these things. I mean, come on guys, it's Dimensity 9000, you get up to 12 gigs of RAM, you get UFS 3.1 really fast storage, and a 144Hz refresh rate. So all of that comes together and really gives you that powerful, smooth experience. Alright, now this tab is running on Oxygen OS 13.1, and if you've been using OnePlus phones, the experience is going to be very familiar on this OnePlus Pad. Now there are a few tricks up its sleeve. For example, a quick swipe can initiate a multi-window split screen. You can quickly go into recent apps like so, and even use 4-finger gesture to squeeze an app into a floating window. There's also this toolbar that you can pop open from the side to quickly access multiple apps. And all of this is customizable. And you can also just tag some apps in here like this. So some apps can continue to run in a small window and you could just open them up from here. But then, because this is a OnePlus Pad, they've taken some steps to start building their own ecosystem. First, if you've got a OnePlus phone around you running 5G, this can tether that 5G in a way that's more battery efficient and more stable than your regular hotspot technique. There's also a way through which you can mirror notifications and even share a clipboard between devices. And then if you've got a OnePlus TV, this can act as a trackpad to sort of, control your TV or even function as a remote. And there's also a couple of other things like screen mirroring and app relay that can help you get more productive with the OnePlus phone and the tab. But let me tell you that some of these things are still in the works, and all of that will right now work with the OnePlus 11 devices. Whether that compatibility comes to other OnePlus devices, I really don't have a comment on that right now, but let's hope, because it's software at the end of the day. Oh, and OnePlus has promised that it's going to give you 3 years of major OS upgrades and 4 years of security patches, so that's good. Okay, now let's talk about the accessories, and I've got the keyboard case here. I've got the OnePlus stylus stylo, and if you're thinking about getting these, couple of things that you should know. So the keyboard case, it's quite good to look at. Matching color as the tab, good quality, very comfortable, and it's got decent key travel. And typing isn't much of a problem unless you have like very large hands, because this is overall quite compact. Key presses sound quite nice. The trackpad is small, but it works perfectly well. Smooth, responsive, clicks are well registered. There's quite a few gestures also that work, and you can get used to them the more you use them. The only drawback of this case is that the keyboard case will keep your tablet at only one angle and you can't change it. But other than that, it's fine, and it also acts as a protective case for your tablet. Okay, and next is the stylus, which they call the OnePlus Stylo. And it sells separately for 5,000 rupees, which I do think is a little steep, because I do think it's not perfect yet. I mean, there are two things to note. First, it will write decently, but this isn't as accurate and natural as the more established players in the market. There's a noticeable lag when you write. It's not that bad, but for 2023, I do think it feels a little outdated. Second, the tip of the pen makes a lot of tapping sounds while writing on the surface. It almost gives me anxiety that I'm going to ruin the screen with marks or something. I mean, either they should have used a softer tip which can glide over a glass surface, or else you're gonna have to, buy and put on a matte texture screen protector so that that tip can smoothly glide over it. But yeah, this is their first attempt at, accessories like this, and they're going to learn from all of this and make things even better in the coming years. Okay, lastly, battery life. And there's not much to say here except it's really good. So you get 9,510 milliamps of battery capacity, which is great for about 2 to 3 days of, intermittent use. I mean, if you're going to be gaming on it too long, or you're going to be on video calls all day long, obviously you're going to drain it much faster. But otherwise, 2 to 3 days of regular use, that should do it. And you do get a 100-watt charger in the box, although this supports up to 67 watts of charging speed, which is, again, pretty fast. You can get from 0 to 100 in about 70 to 80 minutes, which is pretty good. So overall, I think OnePlus has tried to fill a spot or a gap in the market. See, either you get, very high performance tablets at a very high price point, they're loaded with features, or you get poor performance tablets at very affordable prices, but they're hardly functional. The OnePlus Pad, it sort of sits somewhere in between. very good performance, not too feature loaded, and a decent price point. It's got a great looking display, super audio experience, and it's a good design. I like it. You get accessories to make it more productive, so there's at least that option. The only real concern I have is the aspect ratio that makes viewing content somewhat awkward with black bars, or else cut out if you zoomed in. So here's my recommendation to you. Given the performance of the tablet, the great display, the promise of an ecosystem that you could, perhaps get into, and the fact that you can scale it, with these accessories into a more productive machine really makes it a very good tablet to consider at this price point. But I would also urge you to go to a store, pick up the tablet and experience it for yourself. Open up a video and see how you feel about it. Does it bother you or it doesn't bother you? Pick up the pen, try writing on it and see how good or accurate the writing experience is. And if that's something that you really like, then definitely go for the OnePlus Pad. I think it sits wonderfully at the price point and it offers extremely good value for money given the performance, the media experience, and all of that. Anyway, I hope all of this was really helpful to you, and if it was, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, guys, and hit that bell notification icon and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.